Sponsored by EA. Hello, it's AlluringSimmer here, back with another video, and today we are working on my Sims for the Soul Food Legacy Challenge. So this legacy challenge was created by SimSiga, and I will have a link to their challenge in the description as well, so you guys can see all the rules and stuff for yourself, but also be going over it at the beginning while you guys see me creating the Sims for the challenge. So before I get started with talking about what the legacy challenge entails, I just wanted to say that I am really inspired to do this challenge because I watched their video explaining like the whole legacy and each generation that comes with it, and I can tell like the level of effort and detail they put into every single generation and the storyline for the entire thing as a whole. So the first sim that you guys see here being made is going to be my first generation sim, and the rules for the first generation of this challenge are that you need to start out in the adult life stage. You have a sibling that lives outside of your household who also has kids. Your sim has to be a single parent to a teenage child, and the teenage child does not have to be the heir. You also need to start with a modest home, start at level 3 of the education career, level 4 in the cooking skill, level 3 in the charisma skill, and level 3 of the research and debate skill. It also mentions the storyline for this generation, and it says that your parents always instilled in you the importance of human connection. Whether you're volunteering, hosting cookouts, or teaching, you were always for the community. With your boisterous mouth and itis-inducing cooking, you quickly became the neighborhood's big mama or big papa. Even the mailman/woman knows you by name. Everyone loves you, but also knows not to mess with you. Your temper gets the best of you sometimes, but hey, you'd be upset too if your guests left dirty dishes, or if the kids going in and out of the door were letting your cold air out. So the storyline is basically what inspired our first gen sim here. I wanted to go for like an academia, dark/light academia style for her aesthetic. I feel like the rest of her looks are very different, but her main like everyday look, that was definitely the inspiration. Her traits are outgoing, good, and hot-headed. Her aspiration is friend of the world. Her color is red, and this generation, as for every generation, there's a different food that gen is inspired by. This one was red velvet cake. So I tried to incorporate a little bit of red with every single one of her outfits. And I also incorporated it into her daughter's outfits. So her daughter is actually not going to be the heir, because when I really think about it, there's a lot of things that you need to do before Gen 2. And I feel like by the time her daughter is a young adult, I will not have had half of those things completed. So she will be having another child later on in the legacy, and that child will be the heir and continue on the next generation. So for the rules for this generation, there are a few ones that are like more fun, and then a few that obviously are more like challenging. The first one is that you have to go get your nails done and redo them every time they fade away. That one I thought was such a cute little rule. I don't know, I think that's kind of fun. It gets your Sims like out of the house, but also gives me reason to like either build a nail salon or find a nail salon in the gallery that I like and have like a reoccurring event each week or so in the game. You need to max the education career, max the cooking skill, and max the charisma skill. What's nice is that you're already starting off with some of these skills in mind, and I kind of like the idea of starting with the skills already set for your sim, because in reality, like, it kind of gives your sims a bit more character since they already have these things that they know how to do, as opposed for them starting at ground zero for every single skill. They also need to have 3 close relationships with the neighborhood kids and their parents. They need to throw 10 successful dinner parties, volunteer through the phone menu as much as you like, have at least one more child, marry the male woman/man or the repair woman/man, and it doesn't have to be the first one that you meet. And then when this sim dies, we have to save their ghost into the household because we're going to need them later on in the legacy. One thing that I wanted to say that I'll be doing for this challenge for sure is I'm going to be playing in a pre-made save file. The main reason for that is the save file that I'm planning on playing with has a lot of like pre-made families already, and I think with the game, like without playing in a save file, there's not as many like kids, I feel, and also we'd be seeing like the same kids that we normally see all the time because they're the pre-made townies. So I think it'd be fun to play in a save file, have like a fresh set of faces, a fresh set of sims to interact with, and also be sure that there's quite a lot of different opportunities to like meet the neighborhood kids and parents. And then also the idea that we have to throw 10 successful dinner parties. I feel like we're going to be constantly needing to invite new people. So I think having a lot more sims to choose from, since in the save file that I'm going to be using, there are like pretty much every single lot is filled. We'll have a lot more sims to choose from when figuring out who to invite, and a lot more sims to choose from in terms of deciding who is going to be friends with our sim. So now sort of getting into the looks for this sim. As I said before, the main outfit was definitely like academia vibes, and then the rest of them I kind of tried to just incorporate her main color into her looks. I still tried to keep like the general aesthetic of like a little bit more formal, a little bit more, I don't know, sort of preppy vibes. I don't know if that's the right word for most of her looks, but then for like her party and like her cold weather look, I did something a little bit different. And part of the reason why is I kind of have this storyline in my head for her relationship with like her sister. I want it to be like where they're kind of opposites in some ways. Like her sister's a little bit more outgoing, she's a little bit more of a like party animal, and I feel like she kind of influences our main sim here a little bit with the way that she dresses. So as I mentioned earlier, we did have to make a teenage child for our main sim, and I decided to make her a daughter, and her name is Stacy. And the vibe that I wanted to go for with this sim is basically just like sort of the popular girl in school. I wanted her to kind of start a little bit of drama. I chose the teen trait drama llama. I've never done this aspiration before. I don't know if I said trait or aspiration, but I chose the aspiration drama llama, and I am super excited to kind of see like what that's all about. I also did incorporate some of the traits that like, well, I guess one of the traits that her mom has, which is outgoing, to kind of show that she got some aspects of like how her mom is, even though she isn't going to be the heir. And I also gave her the goofball trait because I want her to be like sort of funny. She's outgoing, she's like the popular kid in school, or at least one of the popular kids. And when I created her outfits, I used a lot of stuff from high school years, or at least I was trying to. And I really like how her look turned out. And then for her formal wear, I pretty much made the outfit of what she would potentially wear to prom. Later down the line, I might change some of these looks, but these are just going to be the looks that they're starting out with in the beginning. And then we'll add more looks as the time goes on. I usually like to have like 3 to 4 everyday outfits, and sometimes 3 to 4 like sleepwear, since I feel like those are the outfits that I see my sims in the most. But I think when I was making all these sims, since I had to make 5 sims to begin with, because I needed to make our main sim, her sister, her daughter, and then her sister's husband and child, that took a lot of time making all of their outfits. So I decided I will just add the extra outfits as we played the legacy. I will mention that when we got to the end and we were making my main sim, her brother-in-law, her sister's husband, I didn't really want to do his outfits, so I apologize in advance. I pretty much just chose a styled look for every single one of them, and then just like changed up the swatches for some of the things. Later down the line, I might give him a proper makeover. I think I also need to download more male CC. I don't have a lot, so if anyone has any suggestions of like creators that make really good male custom content, then feel free to comment them down below, because I need more because I don't have any. And I do feel like we have stuff in game, but I think just to add like the uniqueness, I feel like there's a lot of stuff in game that tends to look the same because there's not a lot of options. So again, If you know any creators who make really good male CC, please comment down their names below. And as I continue working on Miss Stacy here, I also want to read what Generation 2 is about, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what's going to happen with the sim that we do end up having later on in the Legacy Challenge. The next generation is Strawberry Soda, and it says your claim to fame is your bubbly personality. Watching your parent fall in love later in life was the most romantic thing you've ever seen, and you admire how great of a parent they were. You love love and the idea of it, and you're determined to raise your kids as amazingly as you were raised. Unfortunately, it's hard to balance long nights at the bar with a social life, and you're a shameless flirt who can't seem to nail down your perfect fit. After a while, you start to realize that perfection is only skin deep. It's what's on the inside that matters most. So what I was thinking with this gen is kind of nice. I think by having the child that we have later on be the heir instead of the teen, it also makes the storyline make a little bit more sense, because if we have a kid and she, you know, grows up with her single mom, and then later on her mom like remarries or finds someone new, then it kind of plays into the storyline of her child being able to see her fall in love later on in life. I feel like with this sim, because she's going to be a young adult very soon into the Legacy, I feel like she wouldn't really get a chance to see that process happen, because she will most likely have been moved out before we get to that point. Something more to do with Generation 2 are the traits are romantic, perfectionist, family oriented, super parent, and the color is pink, so that's super fun. The rules are that we have to max the mixology skill, we need to max the juice fizzing skill, we need to max the parenting skill, we need to sell our juices on Plopsy, reach level 10 in the mixology skill, have 2 failed marriages with sims you find very attractive, fall madly in love with the sim you don't find attractive, and stay married to that sim. Then you want to instill the manners, responsibility, and emotional control values into each of your children. And it also mentions that your parents are obsessed with their grandbabies. Every now and then you must send your child to stay with their parents for a couple days at a time. And what I really like is, at least so far with the first 2 gens, there seems to be like something built in that requires you to do it regularly and kind of be on top of it. I feel like using the calendar feature will be super helpful from seasons to make sure that I remember to do these things, but also it gives me the opportunity to like plan events, like planning the dinner parties for the first gen, or planning, you know, the visits with their grandparents, to make sure that it's like something that regularly happens. And I also feel like it makes it a little bit more fun to give your sims like a routine and have something that you know that you're gonna do all the time, but also you can like plan what you're gonna do during those events. So like for the dinner parties, I want to make each dinner party like different. Like maybe we can do a different theme for like the type of meals that we cook, especially because this is the Soul Food Legacy Challenge. We could also do like a different theme in terms of like the decor we do. And then when it comes to the grandparent visits, we can plan like different activities to do every single time they go to see their grandparents. I also want to mention like the overall optional rules for each generation. So these are things that obviously you don't have to do, but I guess they've suggested it because it will either make it more interesting or it's just a fun way to keep track of certain things. So the first rule is to keep at least 1 photo of each generation heir in your house at all times. I really like that concept. It kind of shows like, I don't know, keeping track of the ancestry. And I honestly like to do that regardless, like pass down the photos through each generation, so like later down the line they still have pictures of like their great grandparents, and sometimes I'll make them like black and white to make it look like they're a bit older. So I really like that idea. It also says to play in a rotational style with their extended family to keep their bloodlines going as well, and I think that's really fun. I also like the fact that like there are interactions that we can have with other sims to kind of control other households without actually being a part of it as well. So like you can suggest like for a sim to expand their family. So if you want, you know, another family member to like have kids or something in the future, then you can suggest that to them. Or if you want them to date someone, you can suggest like, you know, a sim that you want them to get to know or something like that. So I like that there are interactions to do that, but then also the concept of like just going into the household and playing those out as well. It also makes the legacy challenge a bit more fun, because I think sometimes the hardest part of doing a legacy save for me is getting burnt out and getting bored. So I think playing through all the different families will make it a bit more interesting, because we'll have different things to focus on each time. It also mentions to make a Remembrance Day holiday, so every year you can honor the ones that came before you, and I think that's a really cute concept. It also mentions to make a family reunion holiday, and I think especially for a legacy save where you're playing through multiple generations, I think it is important to like have your Sims get together and meet all the family members, um, especially because if you don't do it like actively, there will be Sims that are like distant family that like don't even know that each other exists. And then the last thing says, when you move out of the house to start a new generation, you can take as much or as little money with you as you'd like. If you want to keep the money, great. If not, that's okay too. So I'm super excited. Again, I will have a link to this legacy challenge in the description so you guys can check it out for yourself. We still have our last sim. This is going to be my main sim's sister's husband, so her brother-in-law, and I'm super excited to see how this legacy turns out. I'm hoping to have the next video up next Friday with the first official part of the legacy, and I'll have some pictures at the end of all our Sims together so you can see how everyone turned out. Be sure to like this video and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.